Reduce poverty by jobs. The concept is to help the recently literate people in rural areas and urban slums to be skilled, self-employed and earn a living. We can easily reduce poverty by jobs. A large number of skilled unemployed youths are unemployed mainly due to the fact that they lack skills where they reside. It should be noted that it is possible to eradicate poverty by creating jobs. Jobs fulfill not only financial needs but also social needs. Jobs increases daily income. Development in any country. They are crucial for reducing poverty, promoting education and health services, and increasing the standard of living. The government is taking steps to increase the number of jobs in the country. It has launched a number of programs to ensure that there are more jobs available for all Ghanaians. For instance, there is the Youth Employment Project, which aims at providing opportunities for young people between the ages of 18 and 35 years old to gain employment or start their own businesses through loans from banks. The government also has an initiative called Job Creation Program, which provides funding to small-scale entrepreneurs who want to start up or expand their businesses. This will help create more jobs for our youth and women, who constitute 80% of our population. People who have jobs are far less likely to live in poverty than people without jobs. In fact, the simple act of having a job can significantly reduce the likelihood that someone will live in poverty. In 2018, nearly 2 million people were lifted out of poverty as a result of jobs added during the year. Nearly all of these newly employed workers were previously considered poor according to the official definition used by the Census Bureau. The number of people working full-time has increased in recent years, but there are still more than 5 million Americans looking for full-time work and not finding it. Job creation leads to poverty reduction. What's the point of having a government if it can't create jobs? Well, there are many reasons that a government can be a good thing, but creating jobs is one of the most important. Most people think that creating jobs means creating more GDP, gross domestic product. However, GDP doesn't create much in the way of jobs because it only measures our current economic activity. It gives no indication of what will happen in the future. Job creation does not mean simply growing GDP or creating more wealth. Job creation means creating new business and employment, increasing the number of workers. But how does this increase take place? The answer is through the introduction of technology. It may not seem like it now with all of our new technology-driven ways to communicate, but at one time people were more dependent on each other than they are now. Technology has made us less interdependent and less community-oriented, which means that we've lost touch with each other. We've become isolated and disconnected. The reason we're disconnected is because we've lost sight of what we have in common with each other. We're too busy working to spend time together, and we don't want to spend money on things that are free or that don't do anything. For example, the difference in poverty rates between those employed and those not employed is stark. In 2009, the poverty rate for people without jobs was 20%, compared with 6% for those employed. That gap is even greater among single mothers. 43% of children born to mothers who were not working were poor in 2009, compared with just 11% of children born to working mothers. Not surprisingly, the 25 million Americans who aren't working are disproportionately lower income. The top fifth earned more than 2/5 of all income in 2009, but just 17% of all income went to the bottom fifth. Work and poverty. Work and poverty are closely interlinked. The developing countries or poor countries are characterized by low level of income and high level of population. Due to this, the working population of such countries is very high. The people living in such countries generally live below the poverty line and have to indulge in all kinds of jobs to earn some money. Even educated people do not get a job according to their qualifications. There is a need to move away from the traditional approach that looks at work only as an economic activity with emphasis on wages earned and towards a more holistic view that sees work in terms of the opportunities it provides for people to develop their skills, increase their productivity, enjoy social interaction, earn respect and achieve self-actualization. Work plays an important role in defining our identity and gives us a sense of self-worth. Work is more than just a source of income, it also provides dignity, social engagement and a sense of identity. The workforce participation rate measures the proportion of the working age population, 15 years or older, that is actively engaged in work or looking for work, for example, unemployed. Reduce poverty by jobs. A need for federal support. The federal government has a role to play in helping states reduce poverty. A new report from the Center for Law and Social Policy, CLASP, Federal Support for State Efforts to Reduce Poverty, shows that federal funding can be used to help states provide economic security for low-income families, including those working but struggling to make ends meet. The report highlights 5 ways the federal government can support state efforts. 1. Increase funding for temporary assistance for needy families, TANF, and Child Care Development Block Grant, CCDBG, programs. Federal TANF funds should be prioritized for services that help parents get jobs that pay decent wages and keep them off welfare. CCDBG funding should provide more resources for child care so that parents can work without having to choose between paying rent or buying groceries. 2. Protect Medicaid coverage and eligibility. Medicaid is a critical source of health care coverage for low-income families with children, seniors and people with disabilities. The Affordable Care Act's Medicaid expansion provides states with an opportunity to cover millions of uninsured Americans who live below 138% of the federal poverty level, FPL. The House Republican budget would repeal this expansion and cap federal support for the program beginning in 2020, turning Medicaid into a block grant. The U.S. has a history of helping people in need. Since the 1930s, the federal government has adopted policies to reduce poverty. The programs that were developed during this period have served as models for other countries around the world as they attempt to alleviate poverty in their own countries. In 2009, President Obama signed into law the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, ARRA, which included $787 billion in spending on infrastructure, education and health care programs designed to create jobs and stimulate the weak economy. Jobs help for education. It is a fact that poverty is one of the biggest issues in the world. I will discuss how jobs can be helpful for people to get education and reduce poverty. The main reason is that it helps them to get money. Nowadays, it is not easy to get a job, especially if you don't have an education. However, if you have a job, it means you are able to pay your bills and buy food for your family. The second reason is that jobs help people to improve their skills. If you work in a company where there are many opportunities for growth, then you will be able to learn new things about your profession as well as about yourself. The third reason that jobs help people reduce poverty by reducing unemployment rate, because if there are more jobs available, then there will be less unemployed people who would otherwise become homeless or beggars on streets begging for food or any kind of money they can get just so that they can survive another day without dying due to hunger, which leads me into my next point. Summing up, it must be concluded that although there are some disadvantages of having employment such as working long hours which can lead to stress and other problems like depression, but overall benefits outweigh those issues because at least with employment we would earn our living.